Okay. Good morning, dear colleagues, if you have morning, and if you have afternoon, so good afternoon. My name is Kiseleva Evgenia, and I'm Cambridge Assessment English methodologist. Welcome to the webinar, and today we're going to talk about assessment. We're going to talk about the young learners' qualifications. There's going to be starters, movers, and flyers. And we'll have a look at some productive tasks and discuss some ideas how to assess them. So we're going to have a look at the tasks format, because we need to know that in order to realize what to expect from the candidates. We'll have a look at the assessment criteria, and we will try assessing some tasks. So let's start. The exams, the young learners' qualifications, are pre-A1 starters, A1 movers, and A2 flyers. And these qualifications are aimed at the ages at pre-primary and lower secondary school, and that's going to be from 7 up to 12 years old. So this is CEFRA, the thing you can see on your screen. And why do we like CEFRA? Because CEFRA has some descriptors. They are called can-do statements. And these can-do statements are very helpful for us when we want to assess our students, because we know what to expect from them. We will have a look at some of them a bit later. And now let's see what tasks we're going to assess today and what we're going to talk about. So today is going to be all about productive tasks. So that would be speaking, reading, and writing. For the young learners' qualifications, reading and writing parts are combined. And we will have a look at all three of them. As you can see from the slide, there's a progression in timing and a progression in number of questions. So the lower the level is, the fewer tasks they have. And the higher the level is, the more complex the tasks are. So let's have a look at some of them. Just to know what we're going to talk about and to know what exactly do we mean when we speak about assessment of productive tasks. So here on your screen, you can see the first part of speaking for starters. Well, it's not really the first part, it's the main part, so you're going to have different tasks about it. And they have a big scene picture and 8 more pictures to, which are added to this picture. So what they are supposed to do, they're supposed to answer some basic questions about the picture, like what is this, what color is it, and only one word answer is expected. So it's okay to give a one-word short answer. The next thing they have to do is to tell about some objects, tell about the pictures. Again, some basic, very basic skills are required here, like the colors, the size, maybe the shape of the object if they know it. So the next task that we're going to assess today is going to be picture description, which is a bit different from starters. So this one is for movers and flyers. This is the first part. And you can see here, this one is for movers, where you have to identify 4 differences. The candidate talks to the examiner and they find how what differs one picture from the other. And on the right part of this slide, you can see the flyers exam task, where they have to do the same, but the number of differences is higher and the number of details in the pictures is also different. So it's another productive task which we are going to assess. So another one that's for movers and flyers, it's part 2 for movers and part 3 for flyers. It's another speaking task where they have to tell a story. So this is what they're supposed to demonstrate at the movers level, and here what they're supposed to demonstrate at flyers level. As you can see, there are more pictures for flyers, and the students are supposed to tell a longer story here. So they have the context. So it's easier for them to tell a story, and they're just expected to describe the pictures and show some progression here, show some linkers like then and after that, and nothing more. So they're not expected to show to demonstrate storytelling skills. But still, this is a productive task where they have to speak. Another one which is different from movers, and you don't have this task in any other exams, where you have to identify which picture is the odd one out. I want to emphasize that there is no correct answer here, and what they have to do is just to prove their point. So if they think that, for example, the bat is the odd one, so they just have to give reasons, very simple reasons. Okay. Another task, productive task of speaking, which we are going to assess today, is the question and answer part. So it is for flyers part 2 that you can see here now. They have to talk to the examiner, and at this part of the exam, they have to produce questions, WH questions, and they have to answer the examiner's questions. So it is some kind of an interaction that they have to demonstrate. And as it is interaction, there are interactive skills, which we're going to have a look at. And the last part of the exam, where the students have to answer personal questions, it is the same for all exams, only the complexity is different. So for starters, it's going to be something really basic. Remember, I told you about the can-do statements, which describe the level and which tell us what we can expect from the candidates here. So for the starters level, it's only answering some basic, very basic personal questions, like what's your name, what's your favorite food, and maybe what's your favorite color, or do you have a pet? But for flyers, for example, what is expected from them is a higher level of complexity of their language and grammar structures. And for example, you can see the green one here. What are you going to do on your next holidays? So this is more for flyers. This is what they are expected to demonstrate. Because when we want to assess our students, when we want to help them develop, we need to know what to look at, and we need to know what features and what criteria we should use for our assessment. So what do you think are the main problems, and what problems do you face when you start assessing your students, when you're preparing them for the exams? If you can type something in the chat. So what problems do you face when you start assessing your students, or maybe your students have after your assessment? Do you have any of them? Well, clear criteria. Okay, so students are embarrassed because they don't know what is expected from them, or it's the first time when they hear about the exam. Why are they so embarrassed? Okay. Shy. Shyness is a huge problem, yes, especially for speaking. Okay. So not many problems as I can see here, right? So what I would suggest, new experience, I see, okay. What I would suggest while you're assessing your students is the first thing, as I've already mentioned, focus on what candidates can do. I know it's really difficult, well, for example, it was difficult for me as a teacher because I was brought up in a very traditional system of education when my teachers started counting my mistakes. So like, okay, you can't have a 5 for your English dictation because you have 3 mistakes. All right. You can't have a 5 for your essay because of something. When we speak about Cambridge qualifications, it's more about what the students can do. So it's more about praise than punishment. And you have to be very clear of what you're expecting from them. Also, what is important here is assessing them according to the level. Because sometimes we expect something from our students, like they're starters, but we really want them, we really expect them to speak at the movers level, and we think, oh, he's only given a very short answer, one-word answer, that's not enough. But for starters, for example, that is enough. It's not enough for flyers when they're expected some longer sentences and longer phrases. And to understand that, again, I would refer to the can-do statements and write the description for each of the levels to see what you are supposed to expect from them. Because, of course, dream big, and we always want our students to be the best, but it doesn't work all the time. Sometimes when we want them to be the best, we discourage them because we show that they can't do something. So again, focus on what they can do. When we speak about young learners' qualifications and most of Cambridge exams, the main idea is not to avoid mistakes. It's more about communicating the idea and communicating the message. So, of course, we can't say that we should completely forget about grammar, about correct spelling, correct discourse features of some writing or speaking. But we should not, again, we should shift the focus from mistakes to what they have done, to their success. And again, grammar is like, it's important, but not every time. We should be absolutely sure which tasks are focused on grammar and which are not, which are more about communication. Also, what is important when we're assessing our student is positive washback. And when I speak about positive washback, I mean here that our students shouldn't be discouraged from learning English. Because when they lose motivation, when you say that this is wrong and that is wrong again, and they sometimes start getting very nervous because they don't know what to do. They think that, okay, I will go to the exam and they will tell me that I'm wrong, and they will tell me that I'm not going to be successful. So the exams are designed in such a way that after the exam and after the assessment, your students have this positive washback. Your students have this positive idea, they have some new motivation because they have the statement of results and you know the areas to work on, but still what they have done is assessed. It's not about errors. Again, I will keep saying that throughout the webinar. Accuracy, fluency, we will assess everything. It will be accuracy and fluency together, but the focus is more about on fluency than accuracy, especially for the lower level. Yeah, psychologically, it is great. It's just important not to forget about grammar, really. It matters, and spelling matters. It's just important to know when we can close our eyes and pretend we haven't seen the mistake, and when we can't. So there are some speaking assessment criteria. We're going to start with speaking, and the assessment criteria are going to be vocabulary and grammar, so it's language, pronunciation, and interaction. And you've got some words here. You've got some criteria here. Could you please try to put them into the correct group? You can do it on your own and write it on your piece of paper, or, which is more desirable for me, write it in the chat. So which of them go for grammar and vocab, which of them for pronunciation, and which of them are for interaction? Okay, I'll give you a minute to think. So for pronunciation, we have intonation, individual sounds, and word stress. And pronunciation is probably the easiest one here. Okay. That's why you all started with pronunciation. How about vocab and grammar? Anything for that? So vocabulary and grammar. Okay. For interaction. Okay. It's nice that you start from different points, so from the middle, from the end, and nothing for vocabulary and grammar still. Interaction, respond, reception. Okay. Interaction, support, control. So some of you have like 3 criteria, some of them 2. Okay. Still nothing for vocabulary and grammar? Okay. Range, support, range, control, cohesion. All right. There's one criterion which is still, it still hasn't found the place. So it's extent. Where should it be? Any ideas? What extent is and where it is? Extent for interaction. Okay, let's have a look. I'll get you out of your misery. So, this is a bit bigger than the previous one. And you can see that for vocabulary and grammar, yeah, extent goes into vocabulary and grammar. We also have range, control, and for higher levels, for movers and flyers, we have cohesion. Please pay your attention that for starters, grammar is not assessed. So you don't have any criterion about grammar for starters. For movers and flyers, yes, it's both vocabulary and grammar. And for starters, it's just vocabulary, because, you know, they're small kids and they learn English, they learn the language in chunks. So it's not about auxiliary verbs and stuff like that. It's all about chunks, it's all about collocations and reactions. So no grammar here. As for pronunciation, individual sounds, word stress, and intonation. Again, remember that these are young learners, and we don't expect them to produce intonation or word stress the way we expect students, candidates to produce the same criterion, I don't know, at FCE level or CPE level. As for interaction, reception and responding, support, and fluency promptness. I know there are some words which are not completely clear, so let's have a look at some of them, and some of them really cause problems for most of our teachers. So let's have a closer look and try to guess what criterion is shown here. So if the candidate's response is too short for the level, what is that? Is that vocabulary? Is that pronunciation? Is that interaction? Is that probably, I don't know, intonation pattern or word stress? So what about A? Vocabulary. Any other ideas for number A? Okay, it's either vocabulary or interaction as far as I understand. What could that be? Too short for the level. So you're not expected vocabulary and grammar, interaction. Okay, and could you please be more particular? So would that be range or would that be extent, vocabulary extent? Okay. What about B? So the exact criterion here. He is going to play football tomorrow, even with the wrong auxiliary. Grammar, okay, grammar. What about C? A really frightened dinosaur. So it's a variety of words and grammatical forms. vocab and grammar, range. All right. So ability to join ideas. Oh, cohesion for D. Because range for C. Okay. And I know that many of you looked at B and said, oh, there's the wrong auxiliary. We should punish him, so, or her, I don't know. And this is a mistake, so it's totally impossible to produce something like that during the exam. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you at some point you thought of that. So let's have a look at what criterion is A. So it's for extent, which means that it's about how long the statement is. And for example, if we speak about starters, again, one-word answer in most cases is appropriate. If we speak about flyers, totally inappropriate. They are supposed to give longer answers. So control, when they use grammar and vocabulary, there's such a criterion as control, whether they can use it or not, whether they make mistakes or they don't. But still, if it's comprehensible and if you understand the message, it's not such a big problem. Of course, you probably won't get the top marks, but still, you understand the idea. It's, the message is communicated, so it's fine, even though there's the wrong auxiliary. If we speak about C, there's a range. So this is when the student needs to demonstrate the variety, of words and grammar. And cohesion, some of you were completely correct, because it's the cohesion, so it's this criterion. Okay, so another task for you. It's not only me speaking today. So when we assess starters vocabulary, we're not going to look through all of the criterion. Unfortunately, I don't think we'll have time for that. But you can find all the information in handbooks and try to look deeper and try to change the mindset when you're just counting the mistakes. But try to see what students can do. And if we speak about vocabulary, we're going to have an example of this. So all these letters are in the wrong order or in the wrong column. So here you can see that the students can get 1 point, 3 points, or 5 points for their vocabulary. Of course, there is a 2 and a 4, but it's something between. So vocabulary is assessed according to the range, control, and extent here. And I would like you to read through all these descriptions and tell me what is wrong. So put them into correct places. What should be in 1, what should be in 3, and what should be in 5? Just the letters, please. So if you've just joined, please put the letters, put the criteria into the correct column. Okay. Again, you can write it in the chat or just try to put them and we will see. Okay. 5 marks DAB, 1 FH. Oh, we have very different answers here, HGC and FH. All right. I'll give you another 30 seconds to try, and we will have a look at the correct answers. Okay. Vocab, DGA. Well, they are all about vocabulary, but some of them are descriptors for 1 point, some of them for 3, and some of them for 5. And you're a bit confused as far as I see. So let's have a look at the answers. That would probably be easier. So if you have a look at the descriptors, you will see that they will get, the starters will get 1 point for limited vocabulary and some attempts. Attempt simple utterances, and if they have problems which prevent communication, but they are still trying to produce something, they will get a 1. Single word, still a 1. There's something I should mention, probably I haven't mentioned it before, that it's really not a pass-fail system. So as soon as they're trying to produce something, it's still going to be at least 1 point. So don't discourage your students that if they just give a one-word answer, they will fail. No, they won't. There's a difference between 1 and 5, you can see. So if for 1 point is given only for an attempt, but 5 points is when it's a competent user, well, as proficient as a user can be at starters level, and the vocab is appropriate for all tasks that he has. Simple utterances for starters, again, don't expect too much from them. And if we speak about extend, they can produce some longer utterances. So I've seen the question about extend. So extend is basically how long the answer is, how long the utterance is, how long the response is. And what is appropriate, again, for the lower level is not appropriate for flyers, for example. And you can see the progression here. So there's the flyers vocabulary. And if for starters we only had some very basic, simple structures, for flyers, and to get 5 points for flyers, you will have a range of vocabulary, a range of simple structures, not just simple structures. It's going to be a phrase or a longer utterance level if we speak about extend. And also we have a criterion here, this is cohesion, and it's a range of simple linkers, because, so, and so on. When we speak about range, it's about variety. So I can see a question, yeah, range is about variety, is about how many different grammar forms you use. Like you already have present simple, continuous, past simple, and something like that. And we speak about vocabulary, again, it's not limited to only the starters vocabulary list, but it's an extended list for flyers. This is range. All right. So you can see here, flyers speak in one, and you don't have a video, but there's a script. And you can see here that the criterion are used for assessment. So the green, it's going to be control, how well the person uses grammar or vocab. Yellow for cohesion, and the underlined part shows the extent. So I would like you to look at this part of the script and tell me, give me an example from here of cohesion. Let's start with a simple one. Is there anything for cohesion? Any linkers here? Nothing, exactly. So we only had cohesion in the very first part and nothing else. What about control? How well the candidate uses the language. For control, what examples? Is sleeping. Yeah, so it's a good example. Yeah, that's present continuous, and the form is absolutely correct. Anything else here? What about this one? In my picture, the baby is wake up. Well, her name, this lady's name is Marta. She couldn't find the appropriate word here. So it has to be the baby is, well, not sleeping, or the baby is awake, but she couldn't find the word. She couldn't remember it. It's going to be about range. However, she managed to more or less paraphrase it, and instead of awake, she said wake up, which is clear, comprehensible, and she still is going to get very high marks for her exam, for her performance. So anything else that you can see for extent, control, or cohesion? So she gives quite long answers. That's going to be extent. In my picture, I can't see. In my picture, I can see. So not a one-word answer. There is an example of control. Again, I can't see some stairs. Has to be any, of course. But still, it's more or less okay. It's not going to be a failure, and she will probably get a 4 for this criterion. Okay, let's move on. So again, Marta's answers for Flyers Speaking Part 2. Can you find the problem with range? So it's going to be grammar and vocabulary. There's a problem with the range. This criterion, this particular one. So you can't see anything here. You probably should try to refresh the page. What he's like. Yes, this is range. And this is control also. How about she likes doing computer games? For Flyers, not high. Well, really, it was quite okay for Flyers, and this girl did a brilliant job. And again, this is about how we assess our students, because she got quite high marks for her performance. Playing computer games, yes. And when you look at this, you see the mistakes. Again, this is why we should change the mindset. A lot of ideas were communicated. If you want to watch the video, find it on YouTube, and you will see that her performance was really great. She responded, she had a good range of vocabulary and grammar and everything. And again, this is just Flyers, this is just A2, so don't expect too much from them. All right, and another part of the script. So she had to tell a story. And I would like to pay your attention that here, why is he crying? This is about promptness and support. So she needed some support from the examiner. She was a bit confused. So we have to pay attention at these two. But if you have a closer look, you will see that she uses a lot of linkers. She will get top marks for cohesion. She uses some verbs and some vocabulary to describe simple feelings. Again, top marks for the range of vocabulary here. Yeah, of course, she has some problems. There are some mistakes that she makes, but we should have a look at what she's achieved, and her achievements are really great. Okay, so we're going to move on to assess in writing, which turns out to be a problem for some of us. And again, we need to think about the can-do statements. So what do we expect from our students? We're going to talk about movers and flyers only, because these are only two levels where we have to, they have to produce some writing. So We're talking about productive writing, not just writing words and spelling. So pay attention to that. And if we speak about movers, what we should expect: short, simple, isolated phrases. When we speak about flyers, it's going to be a short, simple story, which is a completely different level of cognitive development. Let's have a look at how these things are assessed. So the productive writing for movers, part 6, where they have a scene picture, and there are 3 types of tasks here involved. So first of all, they have to write a short word answer. Then they have to write 2 sentences about the pictures and answer 2 questions. And this task really is a bit difficult for assessment. So let's have a closer look. For questions 1 and 2, when they have to complete the sentences, we give them 1 mark for each accurate representation of the picture. I will explain a bit later, I promise. So for questions from 3 to 6, where they answer questions and when they write their own sentences, they might get up to 2 marks for each. So 1 mark is given for a comprehensible response and 1 mark for an accurate representation of the picture. So let's have a closer look at what this means. You have some examples here. So the boy on the bike is wearing gray table. Is it comprehensible or not? Is it a correct representation of the picture or not? For question 3, what's the girl in the black skirt doing? Riding a bike. Short answer, but is it correct or not? And is it the correct representation of the picture or not? And for question 5, where the candidate had to write a sentence about the picture, the brown dog are playing in the water. Is it the accurate representation of the picture or not? And is it comprehensible or not? So how would you assess these 3 answers given points from 0 to 5? How many points would you give for each of them? 0 for all of them. So 1. Okay. Question 5, 3. 3, 4 points. Okay. 3. Okay. 1, 1, 1. You're nice. Okay, let's have a look. So there's no gray table and the person can't wear a gray table, so it's not a correct or accurate representation of the picture. It's a 0. For number 1, you might say, like, why? The girl in the black skirt doing? Riding a bike. Is she really riding a bike? No. But there's a person riding a bike. So it's not the correct answer, but it's an accurate representation of the picture. And if you look at question 5, of course, we can all see the problem. Yes, the brown dog is playing in the water. But the candidate gets 2 points for that. First point is because it's the correct representation of the picture. There is a brown dog, yes. And the second point is because it's comprehensible. So we understand what's going on and it's correct. So it's not a 0, 0, 0. It's actually quite a good result. Well, more or less. Not the perfect one, of course. Okay. If we look at productive writing, there are 2 main elements for movers. So the first one is the clarity of the message. Do we understand what the person means? And how much time do we spend to understand that? And the second one is relevance. So is it about the picture? Does it accurately describe the picture? And what is very important here, the grammar is not essential. I know we are so used to assessing our students by the criterion whether the grammar is okay or not. But here, it's not the main thing. It's all about communicative success. All right. So for flyers, the last part of our webinar today, we have, again, we can assess their writing. They're going to write a short story, and we assess their writing for the maximum number of points they can get is 5, and 0 for if the student didn't even try to write something. So they can get 1 point if there is at least something written and something that the reader can understand. 2 points for at least one phrase that is comprehensible. 3 points. So there is a progression, and at least one picture is addressed. So they will already get 3 points. For 4 points, there is a progression and some effort required from the reader. For 5 points, all 3 pictures are mentioned. There's a progression of events and the minimal effort is required. Still, there's nothing about grammar here. It's more about comprehension, and it's more about communicating the idea. Let's have a close look. So this is the task we're talking about. There are 3 pictures. They have to write a short story. The story should be 20 or more words, but not too many, because they will just waste time and have a chance to make more mistakes here. They're expected to use past simple or present continuous. So let's have a look. There are 2 stories here, and both of them are real, from real candidates. So could you please tell me, so which one, have a look at them and tell me which one describes a progression and the events are clearly connected. Which one is based on all 3 pictures and a minimal effort from the reader to make sense. So which of these stories will get a 0, a 1, a 2, a 3, or a 5, or maybe a 4? How would you assess them? So story 1, how many points? Story 2, how many points? No. Progression. Story 2, 4 points. Story 1. It's 1 and 5. Okay. I thought you give 5 points for the first story. 2 and 5. Okay, let's have a look. So that's actually 2 and 5, exactly. So at least one sentence here, and it's quite comprehensible. And the second story is absolutely beautiful. You can see some problems, of course, but there's a progression. 3 pictures are mentioned. Was very hungry, so some grammar is used here. Lived happily ever after. Wow, this is a real story. So if you compare the real points and what you've given, we can see that in most cases we are too strict to our students. And again, let's talk more about their success and let's assess how well they can do that. All right. So I would advise using checklists, which your students can complete themselves, or it can be peer assessment. Very helpful for writing, very helpful in terms of criteria. So you show them what is expected from them, and it's easier, and they know what to do. Also, as a part of your little homework, you will get the presentation. I would like you to have a look at these statements and tell me, oh, don't tell me, tell yourself, sorry, if you agree or disagree with them. Think about it. How can these concepts influence your assessment process, and how can they help you organize your lessons better in order to make them more and more effective? If you have some questions about handbooks, or if you need some more information about exams, so please go to cambridgeenglish.org and you will find all the handbooks and all the criteria and all the descriptions of the exams. So enjoy. So do we have a minute for some more questions?
Yeah.
Okay. If you have some more questions, you can find my email here. And, well, write to me. I don't promise answering instantly, but I will try. And good luck with assessing your students, and good luck to your students with their exams. And thank you very much. That was nice working with you. So good luck and goodbye.
Hello everybody, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, because I know there are visitors here from the Far East. The subject of our webinar now, hello everybody, the subject of our webinar now is teaching writing towards international Cambridge English exams for young learners. Let's see what we can do here to bring our students to success. But before that, I'll have to reload my picture, because I do not see, unfortunately, the arrows for listing or turning the pages. And this makes it not very convenient. Perhaps I will find a way out. Just a minute. Okay, I'm using the arrows on my keyboard. This is the opening hyperlink where you can get some general information on Cambridge English exams for those who perhaps is just a newcomer in this area. And here, following this hyperlink, you can find learners' sample papers that are typical for the exam, starting with the year of 2018, when major changes were, I would say, some changes were introduced to the exam program. Before we start, as usual, I'll be asking you just one question out of this list, only one question. In English, you can answer either in English or in Russian, doesn't matter. Are you using Russian course books or teaching aids when training towards Cambridge English exams for young learners? Let us all see what response, what feedback we are going to get. No, no, no. You are mostly, or no, I don't use any, never, no. Yes, there's one encouraging response, yes, never. Well, actually, I'm not surprised, because we're used to thinking that Cambridge English exam training, no, yes, this is something to be expected, that Cambridge English exam training requires using other books, but those published in Russia. We forget that quite a few of teaching aids and course books published in Russia have been prepared and written in collaboration with British publishing houses, with the British publishers, and these editions can be quite useful. Let us see first at some general information about Cambridge English exams, and as usual, I'm always starting with this table just to remind you about the levels of Cambridge scale, Cambridge assessment scale, as related to Common European Framework at school level. We start with pre-A1 starters, and that is primary school, and then starters proper, and that is grades, grade 4, sometimes grade 4 plus. And then we are passing over to A1 level, that is movers, and these are our school students that we can describe as 5 to 7 graders, 5 to 7 year graders. And then these are movers. And then flyers are the students who take their exams, who sit Cambridge exams for young learners, aged approximately 14, 15 years, and they study at grades 8, approximately, of course, 8 to 9, and there can be some variation in that. Talking about writing at the international exam, Cambridge English for Young Learners, I should say that this sort of skill is tested as integrated with receptive skills. Writing is certainly, as you're well aware of the fact, writing is certainly a productive skill, and it is integrated with receptive skills such as listening and reading. And this is essential to remember, and I think this is something to welcome, because in real world situations we seldom use one skill isolated from other skills. We read to say, we read to write, we listen to tell somebody, we listen to take notes, and I can continue along these lines. And the purpose of testing writing is to assess the skill of writing down the information they have perceived. The object of testing is writing as a speech skill, as a communicative skill, together with other skills. If we take a brief look at the tasks and the format of testing, then the picture is as follows. At the pre-A1 level, starters, listening and writing, there are 20 questions that are to be answered in 20 minutes. The students need pen and pencil as usual. That will go through the whole list. At pre-A1 starters, reading and writing, there are 25 questions and 20 minutes. Movers, A1 movers, listening and writing, requires answers to 25 questions in the limit of 25 minutes. And A1 movers, reading and writing, there are already 35 questions. They have got 30 minutes to deal with the task. And A2 flyers, these are 8-9 year graders. A2 flyers, listening and writing 25 questions within 20 minutes. And A2 flyers, reading and writing 44 questions, quite a bulky task, for 40 minutes of intensive work. Now, now that you've got the complete picture, let's take a look at some typical tasks of teaching, of testing, writing in the Cambridge English for Young Learners exam format. A1 starters, listening plus writing. There's a task of, for example, 5 questions. Read the question, listen and write a name or a number. And there are 2 examples. What is the new girl's name? A new girl has come to the classroom, and students listen to the story and they hear the girl's name. So they are to write the name. Read the question, listen and write a name or a number if a number is given in the picture. And another task, read the question, listen and write a name or a number. Again, there are 2 examples. What is the yes, this is the same task. Read the question, listen and write the answer. But this is not just the name or the number. They have to listen and to write the answer, which is more complete. Reading and writing, pre-A1 starters. Look and read, write yes or no. And there are questions here that the student has to look at, to read, and to write the answers. Look at the pictures, look at the letters, and write the words. As for example, here the answer is given, a snake, a snake. And they look at the letters and make a word out of the letters. Another one, look at the pictures and read the questions. Write 1-word answers. They are writing only 1-word answers here at the pre-A1 starters level. And for example, where are the people? And the student has to answer the question. Or how many things, how many chairs or how many other objects are there in the picture? They again give their answer. Or where are the children playing, or what are they doing? And the students again have to read the story first and write their answers. Read the questions first, look at the picture and write their answers. Pre-A1 starters, reading and writing already implies meaningful reading. Choose a word from the box. Write the correct word next to numbers 1 to 5. There is one example. As for example, they see here a picture of lizards. Lots of lizards are very small, and they choose the word from the box that are very small, and they choose animals. They choose animals. But some are really big. Many lizards are green, gray, or yellow. Some like eating. What do they like eating? Some like eating, and we take a look at what lizards may like eating, and perhaps we'll stop at, could you give me the answer? Some lizards, many lizards are green, gray, yellow. Some like eating what? Spiders. Of course, they like eating spiders, and some like eating fruits. A lizard can run on its 4 on its four legs, and it has a long something, a long tail at the end of its body. Well, this is quite a stimulating activity, and it helps us to check whether students master at the achieved level some skills of meaningful reading, which is essential. At A1 movers, which is the next stage, listening and writing is different. Listen and write, already extracting some information from the picture and from the text for listening. Going to the zoo today by what? By train, and name of the zoo, jungle, and then they have to continue to give the complete name of the zoo. Number of different kinds of animals, and again they've got to extract some information about the animals that are present in the zoo, and can give food to what animals can children give food to, can visitors give food to. And again they write very short answers, thus creating the picture what they've got from the text. Another one, listen and color and write, is interesting because they do not have to color the whole picture. Children have to be very attentive, and they have to color only the details mentioned in the text. So they have to be very focused, which is essential for children at this age. Listen and color and write. There is one example. Listen and color and write. They have to write what is required in the task. There is one example here. At A1 movers, reading and writing task, a task can be as follows. Read the story, choose a word from the box. We've got here boxes with words and pictures. Write the correct word next to numbers 1 to 5. It's very similar to the previous level, but the text is longer, and the range of the vocabulary used, the extent of the vocabulary and grammar is certainly broader. Jane loves reading about different animals in her school library. Last Friday, Jane's teacher told the class to find pictures of animals. Look on the what? Look on the I told you about yesterday, she said. Work with a friend. Choose a really strong animal, but talk about your different what. And you've got to decide on what to choose. As for example, as you see, the words in the box are below the text. Look on the I told you about yesterday. Look on the website I told you about yesterday, she said. Work with a friend. Another one, which is which is in the picture on the left. Look and read, choose the correct words and write them on the lines. This person helps people who aren't well in hospital. And who is that? That's certainly, and who is that? What person helps people who aren't well in hospital? A nurse, of course, it's a nurse. and children will also guess. And some people put milk or lemon in this drink. What sort of drink are they? Do they put lemon in? That's certainly tea, of course. Look and read, choose the correct words, and write them on the lines. As you see, the principle is similar, but the level of input is tea, of course. And thank you. And the level of challenge is, as for me, seems higher in the text, in the task on the right. That's read the story, choose a word from the box, and write the correct word next to numbers 1 to 5. This one. This is more challenging. And the range of words is bigger. We've got here to choose from 9 words. From 9 boxes. A1 movers, reading and writing, multiple choice. That's a new format that is introduced to the examination format, a new format, multiple choice. Read the text, choose the right words, and write them on the lines on the right. That's about dolphins. Dolphins are part of the whale family. They're smaller, and number 1, which word are we going to choose? Smaller than, of course. They're smaller than most whales, and they have small teeth. Dolphins are very clever animals. They learn things very quickly. Yes, learn things very quickly. Another option which is not given here is very fast, but these are all adverbs. They learn things very quickly, and the students at the movers level are already supposed to be able to use adverbs in their oral and written speech. Read the text, choose the right words, and write them on the lines. That is the task format. Another one is very challenging, and this is the one I myself like most of all, and I think it's the task worth developing in our learners, whether we train them towards the exam or not. A1 movers, reading and writing, extended written response. This is a written response that is a little bit longer than in the previous tasks. Look at the pictures and read the story. Write some words to complete the sentences about the story. You can use 1, 2, or 3 words. Daisy at the farm. Daisy's family lived in a flat in the city, but every weekend they drove to the countryside to see Daisy's grandparents. They lived on a farm. And then they read the story to the end, and the samples of the answer are given on the right. Examples: Daisy's home was in the city. Daisy's family went to the countryside by car every weekend. Another question: Daisy's mother liked the farm because it was a what sort of place was it? It was a quiet place. It was a quiet place. And Daisy enjoyed working with what did Daisy enjoy? Daisy, what did Daisy enjoy working with? With the grandmother. And loved helping grandmother with all the animals. She enjoyed working together with the family, together with the grandparents, or she liked working with the animals because she was taking care of them. Another thing, reading and writing, fitting words and completing sentences. This is what we call close test, close procedure, close test. This person can fly to the moon in a rocket. First of all, another task on the left. Look and read, choose the correct words and write them on the lines. There is one example. This person can fly to the moon in a rocket. He's an astronaut. And this is made from fruit, and you can put it on your bread with a knife. Could you find this word out of the words around the box? This is made from fruit, and you can put it on your bread with a knife. Jam. All right. Jam is thick, and of course, jam is thick and sticky, and it is cut with a knife, unlike fruit preserves that that could be floating like liquid, like thick liquid. But jam is thick and sticky. It can be real English jam, can be cut with a knife and put on a toast. And then on the right, reading and writing, fitting words and completing sentences. Look at the picture and read the story. Write some words to complete the sentences about the story. You can use 1, 2, 3, or 4 words. And this is already more complicated because you have to make a choice and you have to give a meaningful answer. First, you read the story and then you answer questions. Mr. Park and the children went to a castle. And the text is that Paul's class at school are studying castles and history. So last week, the history teacher, Mr. Park, took them to visit an old castle on a hill next to the sea. They went by bus and stopped at the bottom of the hill. Mr. Park pointed to the castle at the top of the hill and said, "There's no," and then there's continuation. Mr. Park and the children went to a castle. They went in what? In a bus. They went by bus, but they went in a bus. And the castle they visited was near. It was near. The castle was near. Yes, of course, it was near the sea. For us, the teachers, the task is not difficult at all. But for the children, it's quite challenging and yet interesting and completely accessible. They can cope with it. Or A2 flyers, reading and writing, story writing. You've been talking about that, listening to the previous presenter, and from Cambridge English for Young Learners Examination Center. And here you can just take a look at another example. Look at the 3 pictures, write about this story, write 20 or more words. 20 or more words. That's reading and writing, story writing, A2 flyers. This is already 8, 9 graders, the students who are taking their 8 or 9 or the 8th or the 9th grades at school. How to develop these skills? using a variety of course books. Let's take a look, and we'll use the examples from the course book Starlight, which is published in Russia together with the British publisher, which is publishing house, which is called Express Publishing, headed by Virginia Evans, late now, and Jenny Dooley, together with some Russian authors, myself included. Starlight, that's for 5-year grade, 5-year students, 5th year school students. You have to read the text, Life in a Shell, and write the labels attached to the pictures. The text is quite interesting. Imagine living in a house in the shape of a seashell in Mexico City. In Mexico City, there is a house like that. The architect of the house is, and then there is information about the text. Could you now match, say, a desk, which is letter B, a desk with a picture? Where is a desk in the picture? This is not a very conventional, common desk. It's a little bit unusual. Remember that we're in the seashell house. Where is a desk? Where can you find a desk here? Number 9 is a desk. Anybody else? Number 9, that's interesting. The desk is unusual. Any suggestions? A desk is a place at which we can sit and write something. Number 6. I would put my laptop, I would put my notebook on this desk at number 6. Number 6. And it's interesting. Where is the number 14? All right. Is it a desk or is it a table? Is it a desk? Is it a number 9? All right. Number 9 is the door, and it is oval. Of course, that's a table. I also think that it's a table, but taste differ. Imagine that it's a seashell house, and students may have their fantasy, give full rein to their fantasy and show what they can call a desk in this picture. Another one, developing writing skills with Starlight as productive writing. They have to write a description of the Triumph Palace, which is in Moscow, which is a luxury building in Moscow. It's a 57-story building in Moscow, and one of Russia's most beautiful buildings, sky-high luxury. This is a skyscraper, a high-rising house in Moscow. And they can compare it, if we complicate the task, they can compare it to New York Empire State Building. There is something in common, of course, and it's also very tall. This building in Moscow, in the USA, Empire State Building has 102 floors and fantastic views. And how many floors are there in the Sky High Luxury building? They have to find out, read the text. If the text is missing some details, the children are encouraged to use the internet and then write a description. This is not exactly the format of the Cambridge English exam for young learners, but our input to the learners when we prepare them towards international exams is always broader than the examination format, and that guarantees success because it certainly broadens and heightens their communicative competence. Another thing, another picture. Now this is interesting. This is taken from the internet portal available to all the teachers and students in Russia and abroad. http://citystars.prof.ru. Please write to me those who know about this portal, internet portal, and about the course book City Stars. Please write, whether you know or not. Say yes or no. Just write yes or no. Those who know say yes. Those who know write no. No, no, no. So many colleagues don't know. Yes, yes. Good to know. No. There are more yes. There are quite a few teachers who know nothing about this course book and this internet portal. This course book, City Stars, is actually a version of Starlight for Moscow children, for students of Moscow from the 2nd to the 11th school grades. But the portal citystars.prof.ru is open for free access to all the students and teachers across Russia and abroad. And there is material, support material for your studies, no matter what school book you are taking, from the 2nd to the 11th school grades. And there's plenty of material. Let's take a look at the 5th grade. My Moscow Extra. There are entrances for students, for teachers who can control the students, and even for parents who can find there a lot of useful material. This requires a written response. The information before these pictures, because certainly I know the site, and I'm one of the authors, and one of the authors of the course book City Stars as well, is about a house in Moscow which is shaped like an egg. This house was designed to be a maternity hospital, a hospital where mothers give birth to children. That is why it was designed as an egg. But it has never been used for that purpose. Nobody lives there. Nobody knows what is inside, but it's just beautiful. And tourists come to see it. And the children compare the shape of this house. They describe this house, compare it with one of the Fabergé eggs, pieces of jewelry kept in the Moscow Kremlin armory, which is Оружейная палата, armory. They describe the Fabergé egg, and they describe the egg house, and then they write an email to their English-speaking friends and share impressions of the two pictures. What they write is kept on the server, and the teacher can later check the answers, check the students' answers. Also using the facilities on this in this internet portal, the children can record, which is very important, they can record their oral answers. and the oral answers can be checked by the teacher later and can be played in class for others to listen, which means that children will never say there is no homework, only oral task any longer, because they will have to do the oral task, to complete the exercise, to record themselves, and the teacher will be able to check, and the parents too will be able to see whether the oral task or written task has been done. Also, there are facilities to drag and drop words and pictures, matching them. This is really useful. So you write an email, dear, and they write it. I have recently seen a very unusual house. Just imagine the house looks like an egg. It is, and so on. They have to think what they will write here. The answers can be either limited in length or not limited. That depends on the task that the teacher has in mind, and it depends on the level of the students. And here are the books, and not the books, of course. Here are the articles, the publications in Russian that we have published regarding preparation of our school children towards international exams, towards Cambridge English exams for young learners. You can see here the hyperlinks, and you can see here the QR codes that will give you easy access to the materials. Perhaps you have some questions, and we've still got a couple of minutes for me to answer. I'll be happy to answer. Yes, everything is free. The articles are free. The magazine, this internet journal for teachers, Просвещение иностранные языки, is also free. And the portal, the internet portal, City Stars, is also free. You can use it for free. You are welcome to register and to use it. We'll be only happy, we'll be delighted to see you among the users of this internet portal. So far, thousands of users have already been registered. I'm still expecting questions on perhaps the issues referring to the exam or preparation towards the exam, or maybe some other issues. Thanks a lot for your kind remarks and for your assessment. Thank you very much. Thank you. Hopefully we'll meet. Thanks a lot. Thank you. Hopefully we'll meet again, and I'm certainly inviting you to our webinars and also to other events organized by Просвещение Publisher for the teachers. Stay with Просвещение, stay with us, and stay with me. We are working for you, of course. Thanks a lot. It's been a pleasure talking to you. Bye-bye.